My name is Leo, and I am from Brazil. I worked as a taxi driver for 8 years. Long hours, small income, no respect. Every day felt the same. I drove passengers from morning to night. I earned just enough to live. Life was hard and I felt stuck. But inside me, I loved computers. I loved coding. I wanted to become a software engineer. I dreamed of building apps, solving problems, and working on big projects. I wanted a life full of opportunities. I wanted respect. I wanted to create something valuable. But there was a big problem. English. All programming tutorials were in English. All coding documentation was in English. Every good job in tech required English. Without it, I couldn't read, learn, or grow. I felt small. I felt limited. I wanted a different life, but I didn't know how to reach it. One night, I picked up an American passenger. He asked me something in English. I couldn't answer. He repeated it 3 times. I still didn't understand. He looked annoyed and walked away. I felt ashamed. I hated myself for not knowing English. That night, I sat alone and thought. I promised myself, this ends today. I will learn English. I will work hard every day. I will become a software engineer. That was the start of my journey. From a taxi driver who could barely speak English to a future software engineer who would build a new life. I didn't know how it would happen, but I knew one thing: I would not give up. I started learning English using everything I could find. YouTube videos, free coding websites, English podcasts, and dictionary apps became my teachers. I spent every free minute learning. I practiced speaking while driving my taxi. I repeated sentences out loud. Good morning. How are you? Where do you want to go? I tried to use English with every passenger, even if it was small. I listened to English every day. I wrote new words in a notebook. I learned tech vocabulary like code, loop function, and variable. Every word was a step toward my dream. At first, it was very hard. I could barely understand simple sentences. When I watched a YouTube video, it felt like everyone was speaking too fast. When I read coding tutorials, the words were confusing. Sometimes I cried. Sometimes I wanted to quit. Sometimes I thought, maybe this dream is too big for me. But every time fear came, I remembered my goal. I remembered the passenger who walked away. I remembered my dream of becoming a software engineer. I remembered how I wanted respect, a better life, and freedom. I promised myself, I will not stay average. I will not accept excuses. I will work every day. I will learn English. I will grow. Step by step, word by word, sentence by sentence, I started building my English skills. Every small effort counted. Every mistake taught me something new. I felt stronger with every day of practice. This was my first real step. It was not easy, but it was the most important step of my life. From here, my journey toward becoming a software engineer had truly begun. Slowly, I started to improve. English was still hard, but I could understand more each day. I could watch programming tutorials without pausing every few seconds. I could write small programs on my computer. I could even speak a few sentences with passengers in the taxi. Every small win gave me hope. Every time I understood a new word, I felt proud. Every time I wrote a program that worked, I smiled. Every time I spoke a sentence correctly, I felt stronger. These small wins kept me moving forward. I practiced at least 1 extra hour every day. I listened to podcasts while driving. I read articles in English online. I tried to think in English, not translate from Portuguese. I spoke with friends and tried new words. Each mistake was a lesson. Every day I learned something new. I realized something important. Progress is slow, but it happens if you never give up. Learning English was like building a wall brick by brick. Some days I could only lay 1 brick. Other days I could lay 5. But if I laid a brick every day, soon I would have a strong wall. Even when I felt tired, or when passengers laughed at my English, I kept going. I knew my dream of becoming a software engineer was bigger than my fear. I knew that if I worked hard and practiced every day, English would stop being a problem. These small wins gave me confidence. They showed me that I was capable. They showed me that my dream was possible. And they pushed me to keep moving forward. This was my third step. Celebrating small victories, practicing daily, and never giving up. Slowly, my dream started to feel closer. After 1 year of learning English and coding, I decided to take a big step. I applied for a coding scholarship in Canada. I had no idea if I would get selected. My hands shook when I clicked apply. My heart was beating fast. I thought about my life in Brazil, driving a taxi, working long hours, earning little money. Could this really change everything? I waited nervously for weeks. Every day I checked my email. Every day I felt scared. What if I was not good enough? What if my English was still too weak? What if I failed? But I reminded myself. I worked hard. I practiced every day. I learned English. I studied coding. I could do this. Then one morning an email arrived. I opened it slowly. My eyes read the words. Congratulations, you are selected. I could not believe it. I screamed with joy. I jumped around, I cried. My taxi driving days, the long hours, the small room. All of it seemed so far away. I packed my bags. I said goodbye to my family. I felt excitement, fear, and hope all at the same time. I was going to Canada to study coding, to improve my English, to follow my dream. That night, I could hardly sleep. I thought about the journey ahead. Cold weather, fast English, new people, and hard study. But I also thought about my dream of becoming a software engineer. I knew I had worked too hard to stop now. I was ready for the challenge. When I arrived in Canada, life was very hard. The weather was cold. Sometimes the wind felt like needles on my skin. People spoke very fast English. I could not understand everything. I felt alone. I missed my family in Brazil. I missed the warm sun. I missed the streets where I drove my taxi. But I remembered why I came. I wanted to become a software engineer. I wanted a better life. I wanted to use English to open new doors. I knew I had to work harder than ever. Every day I studied for 10 hours. I read coding tutorials, watched videos, and practiced writing programs. I worked part-time in a small shop to pay rent and buy food. Every hour counted. I used every free minute to improve my English. I spoke to people whenever I could. Sometimes it was scary. I made mistakes. I mispronounced words. People sometimes looked at me strangely. But I didn't quit. Every mistake was a lesson. I joined coding clubs at my college. I asked questions, I listened carefully. I copied how others solved problems. I practiced coding with friends from other countries. Slowly, I started thinking in English. I could follow lessons better. I could explain my ideas. My confidence grew. Sometimes I cried at night. Sometimes I felt like giving up. But then I remembered the long days driving my taxi in Brazil. I remembered the American passenger I couldn't understand. I remembered my dream. I promised myself I would never stop. After months of hard work, I felt stronger. I could write programs faster. I could talk to teachers and classmates without fear. I could understand English better. I was growing. I was becoming the person I wanted to be. Canada was not easy, but it was changing me. Slowly, step by step, I was building the skills, the knowledge, and the confidence to finally become a software engineer. After 2 years of hard work, I finally got my first job as a junior software engineer. I could not believe it. All the long nights, all the early mornings, all the hours spent learning English and coding had finally paid off. I remembered the days driving my taxi in Brazil, struggling to understand simple English. And I smiled. My salary was $76,000 per year. For me, this was more than money. It was freedom. It was proof that hard work and persistence could change a life. I sent some money back home to my family in Brazil. My parents were proud. They could see how far I had come. I bought myself a small apartment in Canada. It was not big, but it was mine. Every corner reminded me of my journey, my struggle, and my dreams. I thought about my first English lesson, my first coding tutorial, and the times I wanted to quit. I remembered the embarrassment, the mistakes, and the loneliness. All those moments had shaped me. They taught me patience, discipline, and courage. I realized that success is not just about money. It is about growth, learning, and believing in yourself. I celebrated quietly, but in my heart. I shouted with joy. I knew this was only the beginning. There were bigger projects to work on, more skills to learn, and new goals to reach. I wanted to build amazing apps, help people solve problems, and maybe even start my own software company one day. Looking out of my apartment window, I remembered the streets of Brazil where I drove my taxi. I had been stuck there, feeling small, limited, and powerless. Now I was in a different world. I had confidence, respect, and opportunities, all because I chose to learn to grow and to refuse being average. After getting my first job as a junior software engineer, I reflected on everything I had learned. The journey from driving a taxi in Brazil to working in a software company in Canada was not easy. Every struggle, every mistake, and every small success taught me lessons I will never forget. The first lesson I learned: never stay average. Life will not give you what you want if you are comfortable being ordinary. I could have been content driving a taxi, earning little and feeling small. But I wanted more. I wanted to grow, to learn, to achieve. Choosing to push myself every day made all the difference. The second lesson: never let fear stop you. Learning English was scary at first. Speaking to strangers, listening to fast English, making mistakes. It all felt overwhelming. I wanted to quit many times. But every time I faced fear, I became stronger. Fear is normal, but it should never control your life. The third lesson: practice every day. Every day I spoke, listened, read, and coded. I learned a little at a time. I repeated words. I wrote code, I asked questions. I made mistakes, I failed. And then I tried again. Growth comes only through practice and persistence. The fourth lesson: English is the key. Without English, I couldn't read programming tutorials, understand documentation, or communicate with international teams. Without English, I couldn't have applied for the scholarship in Canada or succeeded in my job. Learning English opened doors that were once closed to me. It gave me confidence, knowledge, and opportunities. Finally, I learned that success is a journey, not a destination. My first job was just the beginning. Every day I learned more, worked harder, and pushed myself further. Each step forward reminded me of my dream and my promise to myself. I would never accept being small or average. If I, a taxi driver from Brazil, could learn English, master coding, and become a software engineer, then anyone can achieve their dreams with determination, hard work, and the courage to start. Now I live the life I once dreamed of. I work as a software engineer. I solve problems. I work with international teams. I travel to new cities and learn new things every day. I have freedom, respect, and opportunities I never imagined when I drove a taxi on the streets of Brazil. But none of this would have been possible without one thing: English. Learning English opened doors for me. It gave me confidence. It gave me knowledge. It gave me the ability to communicate with the world. English turned my dreams into reality. I also learned that refusing to stay average is powerful. I could have stayed in my comfort zone, driving my taxi, earning little, and feeling small. But I chose to push myself. I chose to take risks. I chose to practice every day. Growth comes only to those who act. And I learned that hard work and patience always pay off. I studied, practiced, failed, and tried again. Every small step mattered. Every mistake taught me something new. Every hour of effort brought me closer to my goal. If I, a taxi driver from Brazil with limited resources and poor English, can become a software engineer with a good salary and international career, then you can do anything you want. Your background does not define your future. Your effort, your courage, and your persistence do. So today, I want to tell you: start now, don't wait for the perfect day. Don't fear mistakes. Speak, read, listen, learn, fail, and grow. Every step counts. Every day matters. Your future depends on what you do today, not tomorrow. Dream big, work hard, learn English. And never accept limits. Because your life can change, and your dreams can come true. If I did it, you can too. Remember this: you are the key to your own success. Start today, and don't stop until you reach your dreams.